Yeah. Cool. All right, guys, let's get started. Happy Friday. We're almost there. Almost at the weekend.
Happy Good Friday.
Happy Good Friday. Yeah, we're almost there. Just hang in there. And yeah, not only are we going to get to the weekend, but of course, I'm sure all you guys have great plans for Easter. Okay, yeah, in that case, let's just jump right to it. So today, we're going to be talking about discontinuous measurement. And unlike what we talked about yesterday with continuous measurement, where we have to constantly monitor or observe the client or the individual, with discontinuous, we don't necessarily have to do that. So it does have some setbacks that we will talk about. But for the sake of ease and practicality, discontinuous measurement can serve as a useful tool whenever there are multiple things happening at once. It really does allow us to get a good snapshot as to what the behavior looks like, its prevalence. And as we're going to see, each one of the discontinuous measurement procedures are time-based. So it's going to be us splitting the day or the session into these small intervals of anything between a couple of seconds to a couple of minutes. So we'll get familiar with those in just a moment. Yeah, so when behavior happens at a super high rate, where it's just not practical at all to track by frequency, that's when we would consider using discontinuous measurement. And also when the behavior doesn't have a clear stop or a start time. And like I mentioned, it's really useful too when you're having to monitor and observe multiple clients and multiple behaviors happening at once. Yeah, so for instance, yesterday we practiced frequency. So let me ask you guys, how many times am I going to drum the table? 3. Okay, great. That's a good 3 tallies. What about this? Right? Yeah, exactly. Yes. So why we shouldn't concern ourselves with trying to count every single instance. Instead, we can use one of the strategies that we'll look like in just a moment. So that's one of the other benefits of discontinuous measurements. Yeah. So these, again, highlighting the advantage. Whenever you're multitasking, let's say you're attending multiple clients at the same time, you also have some other things you need to sort out. That's when we consider using it. Behaviors that happen for a normal amount of rate, let's say 50 per hour. So these could be disruptive vocalizations, the table tapping like I demonstrated earlier. And since their observation periods are divided into these equal intervals of time, 1 minute here, 1 minute there, 1 minute there, it does provide a little bit of structure as to when you should be aware and monitoring the client's behavior. Now, this sounds all good and well, but it does come with some disadvantages. At best, discontinuous measurement gives us an estimation of behavior. It doesn't give us the 100% count as would the continuous measurements that we looked at yesterday. The frequency, the rates, the duration, the latency. Those are a lot more precise because we can spend more time attending to what the client is doing and are able to monitor those things. But here, yes, we're just getting a rough idea. And depending on the procedure, we can either overestimate, which means we can look on paper as though the behavior is happening much more often than it actually is, or understate, where it looks like the behavior is barely happening at all. Suffice to say, even if we're doing our due diligence and trying to track it, once we're outside of those observation periods, the intervals, if the behavior happens, it doesn't get tracked. So it does not need to get reported. And the way we track discontinuous data is as simple as we would with frequency. Let's say we are simply during the interval, and during that, let's say 1 minute, if the behavior happens, we would say it's an occurrence. So we can either put a check mark, an X, and if there isn't a behavior there, then we will put an O or we will leave blank. Then I do have a diagram of what that looks like. Just a moment. And this should make a little bit more sense once we're able to put it in practice. Just bear with me for now. And if the client is not present for the observation period, then we would put NA for non-applicable. Because if we leave it blank, it'll look as though there was a non-occurrence of the behavior, which is not what we want. Because if it looks like the behavior didn't happen, then again, that can kind of lead to us underestimating the instance of the behaviors happening. Yeah, so a client goes to the bathroom, let's say they're gone for 2 minutes, and we're tracking the 1 minute intervals, then that is apparently 2 instances of non-occurrences. So we want to be on the lookout for those. Okay. So this is what it looks like. So here they're tracking, I guess, vocal stereotypy with the humming. So each one of these is divided to 10 seconds. And it looks as though they are doing partial interval, which we'll practice in just a moment. But you see the behavior happened during the 8 minute or 8 second mark. So we would put a plus or a check that it occurred. Yeah, and if it doesn't happen, then we would put the 0 or the line. And that's how we would do it. Okay, so now we're going to look at the individual procedures themselves. And just like with frequency and duration and rate, we're going to practice them. So with partial interval recording, all we're doing is indicating whether or not the behavior occurred at all within the interval. Even if it happened for just 1 second, if it happens within the interval, then we would mark it as it occurred. And it is only when it doesn't happen at all during the interval where we would say there was a non-occurrence. And in terms of target behaviors, this is more for the problem behaviors that we want to be able to address, or we want to see the individual refrain from doing these things. Marshall could give us a good idea as to the trend that it may be headed in. I think I said it. Did I say it good? Oh. The problem with partial is that it can overestimate the occurrence of behavior. Let's think about it this way. If it only happens for a second within a 20 to 10 second interval, then we're going to check it as if it occurred. And if we do this enough times, we're gonna fill up the data sheet, and it'll look like the behavior is happening all the time when it's actually only occurring just here and there sporadically. Okay, you guys ready to give it a shot? Okay, we'll do this together. We will do this together. Okay, so in this video, so here I divided I put a little table for us to jot down the data, just so then we can, again, kind of put into practice. So here, for every 10 seconds, if the children are engaging, primarily the older one, if he is walking, so this is going to be defined as the child standing and moving forward in a forward motion This is going to be for the older child. Then we would mark it as an occurrence of the walking behavior. So at every 10 seconds, I'm going to pause it, and we're going to see at any point within those 10 seconds, did the walking occur? Let's see. Time starts now. Did it happen? Did the child walk?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So then we would put a plus, or you could put a check, and then we'll move on to the next interval. Okay. Play the ball. Oh no. Okay.
His arm.
Okay. Did the child walk?
Yeah.
Okay. So it happened. There was an occurrence. All right. Next interval. Did the child walk? Okay, we will put a plus then. At any point, was the child walking? The older one. Yes? Chrissy, you're shaking your head yes? That's absolutely right. He was walking. All right, we have 20 more seconds. Was he walking?
Yes.
Okay, so that's another plus. And the final 10 seconds. What do you guys think?
Yes.
Yes, that very last second. Yes. So you can see that can be also an example of the overestimation. Imagine if we were to halfen the intervals. Let's say it was only 5 seconds. There were some periods where he kind of toppled and fell down. So in those moments, if he didn't at all engage in walking, we would have marked it as a non-occurrence. Let's try another one. This one, let's do. But for this one, let's also do 10 seconds. So here, yeah, we'll do a minute and 10 seconds. So here, the child is just going to engage in some stimming behavior. I think he's going to flap his arms. And within the interval, we're going to track if it all had occurred within the 10 seconds. Okay, so here we are. Did it happen?
Yeah.
Okay, then we put a plus. All right, next one. Did it happen? Okay, good. Oh, right there at the very end. See, notice that? You gotta count it. It happened within the interval. Okay. Guess we all know what to do here. Let's see if he'll. Same thing for this one. Oh, there he had 2 instances. Okay, then this will be the last interval. So we can count the previous one. And now will he do it in this 10 seconds? Looks like he will. Yeah, so as you guys can see, again, there's this overestimation that partial interval recording can give you. Any questions so far with partial interval? Yeah, pretty straightforward, right? As long as the behavior occurs within the 10 seconds or the minute, we would mark it as an occurrence. If not, non-occurrence. So this would be an example as to what the data would look like. Okay, with whole interval, we only recorded if the behavior happens for the entire interval. So using the example of the child walking, if he's walking for the entire 10 seconds, then we would count that as an occurrence. But if he tumbles and falls down and then stops walking at any point within those 10 seconds, then we would say that there's non-occurrence. Yeah, so another example here is if the interval is a minute and the client or individual is working up until 59 seconds, but then stops at the 1 second mark, then it's non-occurrence because it has to happen for the entire interval. Just like how partial interval recording overestimates the behavior, whole interval underestimates it. Because again, it has to happen for the entire duration of the interval. If even there's just a half second where it doesn't happen, then it's non-occurrence. So for behaviors that we're trying to increase, we would most likely use something like whole interval recording, such as social engagement, being on task, those kinds of things. Okay, so we're gonna do a few practice runs as well. This one. Let's get into it. So here, the individual is going to engage in rocking, self-stimulatory behavior, and we are going to count if it happens throughout the entire 10-second duration for the interval. So let's take a look. You guys ready? Okay. Here we go.
Full interval recording of rocking. Starting now.
Sorry. This is the outcome statement. Did he engage in rocking for the entire interval?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. So we'll put a plus here or a check. Okay, and thankfully they gave us the little ding, a little timer. So we can get off of that. Okay, next interval. Did it occur for the entire interval? No, it did not. It's almost like it never happened. Non-occurrence. So you can either put a circle or leave it blank. You guys ready for the next interval? Let's see if he gives us something here. Did he do it for the entire interval? No, he did not. So another non-occurrence. Again, it's almost like it never happened. All right, let's keep going. What do you guys think? It happened for the entire interval? All right, we would jot that down. And we have one more to go. Let's see if how he'll finish. Did he do it for the entire duration?
Yes.
All right, and there you go. So here we should have a total of 3 occurrences and 3 non-occurrences within those 10-second intervals. So you guys saw, I think even in the second interval where he paused for a moment and then he did it again. And unfortunately, if we're using full interval, we would say that, yeah, that just does not count as an occurrence. So let's try another one. This one. Okay, so this is for on-task behavior. So this lady, we're going to, yeah, let's say 10 seconds. Let's give it 10 seconds. It's during the time, the target behavior is her remaining on task and not going grabbing that like, Amazon gift card or her phone. We want to track if she is engaging in her work for the entire duration of the interval. So let's take a look. All right, here is our first interval. Again, we'll do 10 seconds. Was she on task for the entire interval? Okay, good. Then we would count that. Let's see for the next one. How about for this interval?
Yes.
Good. I'm doing this with you guys too. Okay, take a look at the next one. Was she on task? Good. Okay, we got 2 more. Let's take a look. She's still on task?
Yes.
Okay, good. Man, she's doing her work so diligently. How about here? Nope. And if we keep going, well, she's probably let's do a victory run. Let's see if she gets back on.
Yeah, whatever it is, I'll say Amazon with this.
Yeah, so another non-occurrence, that's safe to say. Okay. So that's an example of how we would typically want to use it. Now, the last one that is interval-based is momentary time sampling. So this is, instead of waiting if there's an occurrence within the interval like we do for partial, instead of waiting for the behavior to occur during the entire duration, like with full interval, we are only going to mark an occurrence if it happened at the exact moment the interval ends. So for instance, if that lady remained on task until the very last second, we would say that it occurred. And if she wasn't, then we would say there was a non-occurrence. And what's cool about this one, if you notice this with partial interval too, you don't have to attend to the individual the entire time. With partial, if the behavior at all occurs during the interval, then you can just mark it and say, okay, well, I'll just turn around and I can wait for the next interval to begin, so then I can observe the individual. Yes, Augie.
I wanted to know why PIR is not ideal for measuring behavior. When you want to relook into this.
What was that?
I wanted to know why is PIR not ideal for measuring behavior based on increase?
Yes, because For those, it's those that happen at such a high rate that it would be difficult to track. So for instance, and with ones that vary in length too, at a care home, there was a client who would engage in outbursts that could last as short as a few moments to almost a few hours. And it was so sporadic, it was so difficult for the staff to get down the duration or the occurrence. Because again, if we're doing frequency, it has to have a clear beginning and end, and the behavior more or less has to happen around the same time. And if it's happening, let's say 50 times within a few moments, then that could be very difficult to track. Just using the example that I showed earlier, there will be a difference between tracking frequency of this. How many was that, guys? Yes, 3 versus too many. They're not the same length. So for, behaviors that are occurring at a rapid rate that we want to decrease, partial interval is more ideal. Gives us a better look at the trend of how it goes down. Yes, of course. So with momentary time sampling, we're just waiting to the very end of the interval. And once it ends, if the behavior is occurring during that time, then we would mark it as an occurrence. If not, non-occurrence. Yeah, and it has a fine balance between the partial and the whole interval, just as partial overestimates and whole underestimates. There's a bit of a fine balance in momentary. And again, this is more ideal when behaviors are happening at such a high rate. It is so impractical to track every single occurrence. And if we are busy doing other things, momentary time sampling can, at the very least, give us a good idea for the rate of behavior. Did I not? Okay, there we go. So let's try it. So this is momentary time sampling for writing in a journal. That is our target behavior. If I think it's the guy. Yeah, if the guy is writing on his journal, right at the moment that the interval ends, then we would count it as an occurrence. Let's do 15 seconds assigned, 15-second intervals.
Okay, class, we're gonna write in our journals for 2 minutes. Go ahead and get those out and get started now.
Is he doing it? No, non-occurrence. Okay, next interval.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Is he doing it? Right, but right at this moment. Yes, he is. Yeah, it didn't look like he was, but just as this, because again, we're doing it 15 seconds. So that first 15 seconds that transpired, he wasn't doing it right when we stopped the interval. But here, at the 30-second mark, he is, even though he was entirely off task for the majority of the interval. So we would count this, because right at the end here, he is doing it. I know. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the third interval, and this will be at the 45-second mark. Like it never happened.
All right.
Here, is he doing it? Not yet. No, the interval ended, and he is not writing in his journal, so we would not count this. This is a non-occurrence. Okay. Let's do the next interval. So this will be at the minute mark. Is he doing it? No, he's not. Okay, let's see if he can redeem himself here with this last 15-second interval. Is he engaging in on-task behavior here? Safe to say he is not. He's not even holding his pen anymore. So here, based on the momentary time sampling data that we took, there was only one occurrence of him being on task. Okay, let's do this next one. This one, let's do the 20 seconds. I believe this is going to be rocking as well. It would have been a little helpful if they gave us some description, but we'll make do. Oh, the tipping chair, yes. So right as the 20-second interval ends, if he's tipping up his chair and he's expended in the air, then we will mark that as an occurrence.
Unavailable.
All right, so this is 20-second interval.
Unavailable. Unavailable.
Is he tipping his chair here? Yes? Oh, he looks flat to me. Yeah, his feet are on the ground. So we would mark this as a non-occurrence. So this is him, yeah, essentially tipping his chair if he's like this, where he's suspended up. All right, let's try this next interval. See if he'll do it then.
Oh, Stuart. Disgusting.
It's a little difficult to see, but is he tipping here? Yes, he is. Yeah, he's barely coming back down. So we would count this as an occurrence of him tipping his chair. Okay, now we would do at the minute mark here. Is he tipping?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
No?
Yes, yes.
Looks like his feet are flat on the ground. Yeah, it was such a slight second change, so he is not tipping here. Non-occurrence. Just for you guys. Yeah, right there. He's flat on the ground at the 1 minute mark.
Oh, Stuart.
Is he tipping? Yes, he is. Okay, last 20 seconds. Let's see how he ends. Is he rocking? Yes, he is. So here we got 3 occurrences and 3 non-occurrences right when the interval ends. Okay, so that is momentary time sampling. Any questions thus far distinguishing partial, whole, momentary time sampling? Did it get somewhere? Okay. Then I think I put this back. Another way we can do discontinuous tracking is through what I refer to as permitted products. Now, this is where the behavior leads to a change in the environment that's such in a way that even observing what was the result or the consequence of the behavior is enough to know that it happened. Yeah, you don't have to see them doing the behavior at all. There's no need to observe them, to monitor them. As long as you see the result of the behavior, that is sufficient to track it. And I have a few examples in the next slide for you guys. Yeah, it reduces some reactivity, so the client doesn't feel watched, they feel in a more natural environment. You can always come back to it later since it's going to be there. And you don't have to, again, attend to the client at the whole time. So for instance, you tell a client to wipe down their side of the table. You don't have to be there to look at them to see if they did it. All you have to do is give them that instruction or the request, and then you can go about doing something else. And when you come back, if it's clean, you know they did it. If it's not, then you know they didn't do it. Same thing with a completed math worksheet or a coloring page. If it's completed, if you can see that all the work is done, then we can say that's a permanent product of the behavior of them attending to their worksheet. And if it's blank, well, you know that they didn't do it. And when it comes to problem behavior, a permanent product of property destruction is the broken product itself. Hole in the wall, broken glass, those things show you that a behavior did occur without you having to directly observe it. And if behavior results in lasting change in the environment that can be seen later, then it is a permanent product. This one might be a little bit TMI, but at one of the care homes, there was a client who was very discreet about when he has an instance of incontinence. He would be very sneaky about it, and he wouldn't want to let the staff know. So what he would do is he would take his clothing, and after he sold it, and he would hide it somewhere in his room. Now, because he was incredibly sneaky about it, the staff weren't able to catch him in the act of having the incontinence. Instead, what we were able to track were the soiled articles of clothing that he had. Now, fortunately, he doesn't do that anymore. we found some ways to help him kind of address that. But at the time, that's how we were tracking his incontinence. It was not seeing him have the accident or hearing him say, uh-oh. It was the staff at a later point in time finding those soiled articles of clothing in his room. And I have a video here. What was it about? So just another example of measuring permanent products, how we can see them.
So for the next 30 seconds, I want you to write your name, and however many times you write your name, that's fine. You ready? Go.
So he's writing, and she doesn't even have to be there for him to do this.
You counted your name completely 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times. That wasn't your full name, so that doesn't count.
Yeah, pretty cut and dry. Either you did it or you don't. And you're able to see it afterwards. Okay. Yeah, then just a quick summary here for all of these measurement procedures. Again, I know I threw a lot at you guys, so we'll be taking it one step at a time here. Yeah, usually in the VIP, if you guys have a chance to look at it for the individual clients, I note what type of data collection method we're using. Typically, we're doing frequency for some of these discrete onset behaviors. And yeah, whenever we're going to be using discontinuous measurement, we want to be able to use a timer. And actually got a chance to talk to Jan about that, and she's going to get some more timers for you guys to be able to use. And coming back to what we were talking about tracking the absence of a non-occurrence. I know that's a weird way of saying that you got to put non-applicable during that discontinuous interval. Otherwise, it which looked like it didn't happen when there was an opportunity for it not to happen. Hope that made sense. Okay, any questions before we get to the questions I got for you? You guys ready to jump into this? Okay. You are tracking how long it takes for a client to start cleaning their area after you say, please put your supplies away. What should you track? How should you track? Hearing D, yes, latency. Latency is the duration between the SD or the instruction and when the individual begins the response. Good. An RBT is using 5-minute intervals. If the client engages in hand clapping for even 1 second during that 5 minutes, the RBT marks it as an occurrence. What is this? Yes, partial. Very good. A client is working on a 50-piece puzzle. Oh boy. At the end of the 15-minute session, the RBT counts that 40 pieces were correctly placed. What type of measurement is this? Yeah, there you go. For a product, you don't even have to be there. You can just come right at the end of those 15 minutes and be able to witness it. Now that I think about it, 15 minutes may be just about the time that it might take Kiara to do a 50-piece puzzle. She's gotten very good at those. Why is rate often preferred over frequency in the day program when the shifts lengths can vary? Oh wow, you just got that really quick. Yes, that way we can compare the individual behaviors to the appropriate times. If it happens once per hour, we know that's the case. If it happens twice in 2 hours, or if it happens 4 times in 4 hours. A client is learning to eat at a slower pace. The RBT measures time between each end of bite and the start of the next bite. What is this? IRT, that's right. Your response time. The beginning or the end of one response, and then the beginning of the other, that's the time we're tracking. Which measurement procedure allows the RBT to collect data without observing the client constantly?
D.
B or D?
D.
B, and then I'm hearing D. It is D, yes. Whole interval, if you guys could, if you have a recall, the behavior has to happen for the entire interval. So if even at 1 second the behavior doesn't happen, we will mark that as a non-occurrence. Momentary time sampling, you really only have to come in at the very end of that interval. So if it's 10 seconds, you only have to look at them for that last 1 second to know that the behavior occurred. You can ignore them for the other 9 for all you care, and then come back at the end. And if it ends at the interval, then you can see if it's occurred or not. Which of the following is the most objective description of a client's behavior during a transition?
C.
Oh, wow, yes. Yes. C. This gives us the objectivity. We get a good look at what the environment entails, the duration, and then the antecedents. Very good. Last one. An RBT is asked to track completed shredding by weighing the bag of shredded paper at the end of the day. What is this an example of?
B.
B as in boy?
Yeah.
Yes, current product. You can just tell the clients, you can just say, hey, Sean, have at it. We'll see you later. And then come back to it to see if they did do it by the amount of weight of the bin. Good. Awesome job, guys. I just did want to make a quick point now that we're starting to get into the data collection procedures. So now, in order to get a better look and a better idea as to the frequency of, did I say something? Sorry, okay. Yeah, in each room, we're gonna have separate tally sheets for different clients' target behaviors. So for instance, in here, we have for Ryan, his behaviors of grabbing and vacating. By chance, if let's say Danny's not here or she's doing something else, if one of you guys were able to observe it happening, you could then record it. That way we can have a better look and a better idea as to the total amount of occurrences particular behaviors occur. Yeah, and then at the end of the day, you guys who are assigned those individual clients can just transfer the data over to the ones in their binders. So I believe you said you already have them all ready for next week?
Yes,
Jonathan?
each room has their own now.
Okay, great.
And if those that you don't see the names on the binders, they don't have frequency in their dips. So
Yeah, so this is just gonna be
Not
for
yet.
frequencies. Yes. So for the individual, when we just tally each occurrence of the behavior, just like we did yesterday. Any questions regarding that? Sounds good?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we can end here.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Have a happy Easter.
Have a happy Easter. What is it? Is it Malanganya Pascua? It's still Pascua, isn't it? Pascua. Then what's Easter?
Easter.